Good morning, friends. Good morning, loyal audience. Good morning, fans. Good morning, haters. All alike, you're welcome for my show today. A precise point about what's going on. Uh, Here's the deal. If I'm going to begin with facts, like bullet points, and then I will move on to explaining things as I do, right? Here's a fact for you, whoever you are. Whether you're for Biden or for your Trump or for whoever it is, right? If Trump goes back to the White House, then Joe Biden is your last U.S. president elected freely, or your last U.S. president that is a democratic president, as democracy is defined by the U.S. elections, separation of powers, uh, and legislative branch, judicial branch, and executive branch. Your United States is over. Your United States would have, you would have to remember Joe Biden as your last real president, and that would be similar to Lenin and Stalin winning the revolution against the czars, right? Even though the czars were not the best around, right? But those who lived during their time and then lived during communism, if they continue to live, not ended up like those 60 million in the gulags or World War II and one and two that murdered or killed something like another 60 million under communism, which continues until now. No less than 200 million were killed in the northern region, like Europe and North Asia and so on. Those what used to be called Soviet Union as well as Europe, and that's it. Joe Biden would be your last U.S. president, if right. So that's point number one. You can rest assured of that. I will provide an evidence, something that has just happened in this century, and it's still happening in somewhere in the world. And I will point it out to you, and I will explain. I will provide some details to the situation and how it started and how it ended. We are talking horror of a story that the media is not even mentioning, right? You may think the media is divided between Joe Biden and Trump. Some of that is true. Very little of that is true, but a lot of that is not actually. I look at those supposedly channels that do support Biden or democracy and so on and so forth, and I don't see that. Sometimes I see them talking about Joe Biden, but it's a disguise. It's like a glove, right? Talking. But then what's within is really for Trump, and they're subtle, very subtle. They lead you into certain things, and they play with your psychological. They put you into a psychological spin zone. While they're talking about Biden, they kind of play that language and subliminal command thing that points you toward Trump. And so I find the vast majority of the media, in fact, is working for Trump. So that's that. Now, point number two. So yeah, I mean, if Trump goes back to the White House, say goodbye to your United States, and say goodbye to your last president, and that's Joe Biden, right? If Trump goes back to the White House, then the Cold War has been finally won by the Soviet Union, by communism. You may say, well, communism was gone and democracy turned up in Russia after on the ashes, out of the ashes of the Soviet Union, democracy, blah blah. It's not true, folks. Communism is alive and kicking, and is as vicious as it gets, right? Just look at it. Just look at it, folks. I mean, don't quote me on it. Just look at it. And you will see what's going on. Communism lives from Lenin until Putin, and it will continue so long that regime is there. It will continue, right? And finally, they would have won by seizing the White House. That Cold War. That Cold War, if Trump goes back to the White House, that Cold War would have been finally won by the Soviet Union, by communism. And those communists, they have no mercy upon you, you Americans. Oh, no, no. You don't know. If you want to see what will happen, it will be something like Syria. I advise you, I encourage you to watch that movie 1984 and liken it to what will come here your way in the United States. And you may say, well, look, that's like shooting way out, way over the horizon, and like that's now you're in a gray area of conspiracy. And then, no, folks, this has happened time and again in the world, and it's happened in the past 13 years in a country called Syria. I come from Syria, right? I was born in Syria in 1962 and left the country in 1980. In 1981, I immigrated to the US, and I've been a citizen here ever since, shortly thereafter, and my family is here, and so on and so forth, right? So, like they say, you can take the boy out of the country, but you cannot take the country out of the boy. Everybody has that truth within them. Everybody longs to their birthplace, right? And right, birthplace, place or where they grew up, right? Like roll on Mississippi, you make me feel like a child again, right? That's what Americans say. Why? Because that's where their soul is. So they can immigrate to Europe or Asia or South America all they want. Ultimately, even if they have no choice but to stay where they went to, their heart still belongs to that Mississippi, right? And that's okay. I mean, this is human nature, right? So let me describe what happened to you. In Syria, it was akin to Trump taking power in the United States. In Syria, it was akin to Lenin and Stalin taking over in the Soviet Union or Russia, and then the Soviet Union ensued. And it's absolutely, from destruction point of view, from this destruction of morals, from annihilation of people, and you know how in the movie 1984, which I encourage you and recommend that you watch time and again, especially at this time of the crucial and very dangerous times in the United States. The very life of the United States, as you know it, is on the line now, right? That's it, right? So watch it, and you see how the bombs are falling all the time, and the squalor, and people digging in trash, and the fear of the security services, and so on and so forth, and the espionage and the spying and the monitoring, and the I can sit down here and describe to you so much about that negative utopia, which exists as a matter of fact in Syria now. It's like that. So when this guy Assad and his father took over, they crawled slowly but surely, and in 1972, it was like 10 years later, that group of people took over in 1973, right? And they just converted it into a dystopia. And then therefore afterwards, little by little, 9 years later, they destroyed the whole city, accusing them of being terrorists and stuff like that, and until 2011, which is something akin to 1911, right? The Mao Zedong revolution and so on. Go check that out. There's that old movie about 1911. Something's wrong with 9/11, man. What's wrong with those people, right? And then now, the destruction has happened, and the cities are destroyed, and basically a 24 million people country is reduced to 6-7 million people under the regime control, right? And even here, life is so miserable, is so poverty is widespread, and even the chicken meat that you eat, if you can get that, you don't know what they're feeding the chicken, right? Because they just want to produce something for people to eat, right? Electricity is no longer available except like 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day. And then when it's available, it's so weak, you can't even, your fridge won't even work anymore or something of the sort. But then take that and multiply it by 10 times the horror of the killing, the horror of driving over innocent civilians by tank treads, and the poison gas, and the bunker busters. And Russia was there, right? Russia was doing all that stuff, and of course the Syrian regime and those belong to those that are circling that supposedly demigod in his orbits and so on, right? It's no different. The pictures are all over the place. You have to worship him and then live like animal, like a dog. And even then, you don't guarantee that the security forces won't come and pick you up and that's it, you're gone. During that war, people tried just to get rid of it, of this totalitarianism. Imagine it like Russians trying to get rid of Stalin by rising up in demonstrations. Folks, they were murdering children, they were raping women, they were burning animals, right? And these guys are so psychotic. It's no longer, it's no different than 1984, 10 times more. I still remember a picture. They went inside the house and there's a woman, right? Probably an older woman, it reminds you of 1984. They raped that woman and they left her. She died from anger, from the humiliation, from the pain, and so on. She died and she was laying back. Sometime later, somebody entered the house and the woman has been decomposed. The woman has decomposed while she's sitting back like this, and her pants are still down from the rape, and so on and so forth. These animals are the same animals as Putin, the one who kept them in power in Syria by murdering millions, right? And these are the same people that are bringing Trump into the White House and trying, of course, right? You may say, well, he had 4 years to do all that, right? Oh, no. It was a step, actually. They needed to go through that January 6th to nullify the election process, even though he lost by far, right? He lost the popular vote by far to Biden and to Hillary Clinton. And before him, Al Gore won the popular vote against George W. Bush and so on, right? Remember George W. Bush? Mission accomplished. He took you to Iraq. And now Iraq, 2-3 millions got killed there, and the vast majority of people are displaced, and many of them are gone, right? And they tell you it's terrorism, folks. So that's that. 1984 just happened in Syria. Go see the pictures all over the place, right? And people are killed and get killed for the regime to worship the dictator, the tyrant, which we call donkey, right? And their total poverty and dissolution of ethics and dissimulation and it's Animal Farm, as described by George Orwell, right, or Eric Arthur Blair, is a far better place than the place of the Syrian regime by now, right? That's point number 3. Go watch that movie, and Putin is coming. All I remember from that debate is how much Trump lies, right? Now, if you look at the media, right? The media, they focus so much on Biden, but they never mention Putin or Trump for that matter. I mean, to me, that was like an appalling liar, right? A very conspicuous, very obvious liar about everything he said. I mean, he lied something like 30 times, and then when he didn't lie, he avoided the questions completely. But one thing he was honest about is that he will not accept the election. He said that time and again. Trump and his people, folks, Trump and his minions, or those dogs of Putin, right? They're very obvious, they're very clear, they're very outspoken and very loud about what they intend to do. They intend to really nullify the Constitution. Trump said so a number of times. They will not concede the loss in the election, and that's very obvious. They said so. And why are they so vehement about Trump going back into the White House? Because he's going there to stay, right? That's it. I mean, why would you want to be so vehement, right, about going back to the White House? If you look at the history of the United States, no president or candidate who lost the election came back and, ran again. Never, right? They were fine, just leaving the podium or leaving the chair of or the White House for somebody else, right, of their own party or maybe the other party or something like that. Except now, why would someone be so vehement about going back to the White House? Why? Why would someone be so vehement? Not just him, but Putin and Mao Zedong of China, that's Xi Jinping, right? Right. And Ayatollahs, right? He's friend of Ayatollahs, right? Why would they be so vehement about going back to the White House? Just Just think about it, folks. It doesn't take a genius to really understand why. Because they intend to stay. And what happened in January 6th? Faltered. So they learned their lesson. Next time around, they will not go in with rioters, with shamans, with rowdy bunch. Next time around, they will use guns. How do I know? They tried it before, but they underestimated the situation. And that basically that pirate ship of Putin faltered on the steps of the Capitol. Where is it you don't see that, right? You Americans. You Americans, you had for 4 years, this is like miraculous. You had 4 years to survive this onslaught that is coming from the East, right? From Ayatollahs, from Xi Jinping or Mao Zedong, from Putin, and from Netanyahu above them, and so on and so forth. And you think the media is divided, right? Some profess that they are pro-Biden's, the others are vehemently for Trump, and so on and so forth, right? But if you look at the ones, the media is all united. I mean, I don't know about all, but the vast majority, right? Those who profess or declare themselves as backers or supporters of Joe Biden, and you listen to them and their wording and there's something wrong about how they support Biden, right? They talk a lot of empty sentences and chatters and narrations that are void of substance and reality. And between now and then, they issue something that will make you, that will subliminally try to drive you toward Trump. Needless to say, like Joe drinking coffee in the morning and so on and so forth, right? You'd think that these guys are for Biden. Look again, right? So that's what it is. They say time and again what they will do, I said before in my videos that these guys are there to really take over the government, and that's that, right? It's just like Syria is no different than Syria, is no different than Cuba, is no different than Pinochet, is no different than anything else. That's it. It's just to take over, right? From like Lenin all the way to Putin, and Nazism as well, right? You may think Nazism is dead. Oh, no. It still runs Germany, right? Nazism was a sister movement of communism, right? And they both were there to crush Europe, and they did, right? People believed in them. Some people believed in them. And eventually, they realized that they went into trouble, right? They basically brought their own enemy into their own house, allowed their own enemy, their own predator, the predator that preys on them. They opened the door for them, and they helped them to come into their house, and next day they were all bones, right? Let me tell you something about them. Whether it's Assad, whether it's Ayatollah, whether it's Lenin, whether it's Hitler, whether it's Mao Zedong, whoever they are, right? You look at those revolutions, they rise on the shoulders of people who are fed up and tired of injustices in society and the stagnation of society and so on and so forth. Once they come, right, and they seize power, after being brought into power, right, by those very same people, they come and purge and liquidate and murder in mass all those people who brought them to power, right? Because those people who brought them to power can take them out of power, right? If they did that the first time, they do that the second time, right? Because they feel now they're being cheated or they made a mistake or something. So before they rise again, they just murder them. You know what Hitler did, right, with the stormtroopers after establishing the SS, after he was in power, after he became chancellor? You know what Lenin and Stalin did, right? You know what Ayatollah did, right? In the first year alone, I think, he murdered no less than 250,000. All those were those people who shouldered the revolution that expelled the Shah and brought Khomeini in, right? He turned out to be their enemy. And Iran, ever since its total poverty, wars, genocide, kill and get killed, and there's no end in sight, really, basically. In Syria, the same thing I just explained to you. 1984 is right there in Syria, multiplied by 10 times, right? So yeah, those who are supporting Trump, you don't know what you're doing. Ah, you don't know what you're doing. Some of you think that totalitarianism is good, right? Give me a second. They find it romantic when they read or those novels like New Brave New World and so on and so forth. The other day, well, a few years back, I was driving and there's this young girl driving her car, used car. Apparently, her parents bought it for her. You know, we all buy cars for our children, right? Uh, and then she had a bumper sticker here in Illinois. That bumper sticker said, "Goodbye, cash." I looked at her through the window, and she's probably referring to cryptocurrencies and so on. I was like, she doesn't know what she's talking. She's innocent, you know. She's young, innocent. I may remind you of a certain premier of the Soviet Union, the last one, Gorbachev, right? Well, there's a premier now. There was Yeltsin after him, and there's now Putin, right? As deadly, as hellacious as it gets. Joe Biden was right when he described him as a war criminal, but Joe Biden didn't fulfill. He should have called him psychotic, deranged, and a creature from down there from hell, right? Who emerged just to destroy humanity. That's all there's to it, right? Uh, uh, and then, right, I was like, you know, those guys find totalitarianism like romantic and so on, and they just want to change or something of the sort. They didn't know what's going on. They just and they never lived under totalitarianism like I did myself in Syria, even though it wasn't as bad. But there's like I would call it the Republic of Fears between the time I woke up to life, like in late 60s until I left in 1980. That's the Republic of Fear, folks. It's total fear, and people just disappeared, and you don't know where and how and when they will. They never went back. You know, you think the things in Syria started in 2011? No. In 1979 through 1982, that regime destroyed a city, right? And its minions destroyed a city, and hundreds of thousands of people just disappeared. Nobody knows where they are, right? And we hear horror stories about dungeons and gulags. Yes, in Syria, right? Yes, in Syria, and elsewhere, you know, in Iran. But me being in Syria, and it's exactly the same situation. Once you see people trying to go into the seat of power of a country, whether it's the White House or Syria or anywhere else, you know they're there to stay. You know they're not there for democracy. You know they're there to do 1984. I assure you, Syria was 1984 multiplied by 10, and look at it now. It's you know, like the vast majority, 85% of the people are just basically gone, right? You know, point now. Do you remember when he mentioned that Biden, Joby, paid $6 billion to Iran? Oh man, that was sad, Joby. That was sad. But I want to remind you of something that Trump himself did. He exchanged a very well-known spy here in the U.S. whose name is Putina, just like Putin, as if it's related to him, right? He and his Attorney General Barr, they were very like sad for her, you know, like tenderly and so on. Oh, it's time for her to go home. She caused so much damage in this country, and then they just let her go. Yet there was certain American who was in custody in Moscow for apparently accused of being spy, and they didn't even care to exchange her for that particular person, right? That particular American, right? And now he tells you that he's gonna get this particular spy out in 24 hours, or all those 34, or blah blah. How so, man? What are you gonna do? You're not gonna pay money. So why would they? Why would Putin like you, right, so much as to release prisoners for you and not do that for Biden? These guys don't like you, folks. You know, those Putins. They don't like people, right? They know what to do with a spy when they catch one. But he let Putin go back for free, right? So, like I said, you Trumpians, you Trumpites, supporters of Trump, whites or whoever you are, oh, you're the first one to be first. Go look at history, whether it's Hitler, whether it's Lenin and Stalin, whether it's Ayatollahs, no matter who it is. Even Hezbollah of Lebanon, right? You hear about all, and you hear about all those commanders and generals being killed by Israeli airstrikes. These are purges, man, for to help the leader, that chief of Hezbollah, liquidate all those undesired elements. Uh, how about Netanyahu? He was trying to become a dictator, right? Uh, Passing certain laws in the Supreme Courts that of Israel that makes him almost a totalitarianist. That's all there's to it, right? Look what he's doing in Gaza. All those founders of Hamas, they're his brothers, right? They're his Mossad operatives, the ones who supposedly carried out that raid into Israel that caused the killing of hundreds of thousands and murder of hundreds of thousands. Gaza, 2.2 million people, is now rebels. That's all there is to it. There's nothing else there anymore, right? Uh, is that what you want to happen to you here in this country? Look, this 4 years was for you to really act and make sure that Putin doesn't come and rule this country. You better seize it now. There are people now who are, even if you're a Democratic now and go against Biden, you want to change him or not, whatever it is, replace him and substitute him and so on. If you do that, number one, you're shooting yourself in the foot or maybe in the heart. You're committing suicide. Two, you're trying to cause mayhem in the Democratic Party. Three, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. If there's time that you come to support Joe Biden effectively and count, it is now, not before. Before the debate and after the debate. Look, the guy is doing fine. Yeah, okay, all right. Grandpa just like stumbled a couple of times, but his decision and his information and his sound discussion and so on, the guy answered the questions head on, as I explained in the previous video, right? The guy just made it clear, he never, he was not evasive. He tried to answer the questions to the best he did, and he did, right? And whatever he accused Trump of is true, no less, folks. Folks, whatever happened in January 6th, they now consider it a mistake. They will carry out that particular military coup again, but this time it will be guns, right, near the Capitol. You authorities, law enforcement agencies, you better wake up to that fact. Putin will not concede his loss in the election come this November. They made that clear. I am saying this, you may think I'm exaggerating, and in my previous videos way back, right, I told you that's what they're going to do. That they're going to suspend the Constitution, they're going to do so and so, they're going to do so and so. But you probably doubted what I'm saying. But now, guess what? They spoke it, right? They declared it as their purpose, as their manifesto, right? To change this country, just like Lenin and Stalin did, suspend the Constitution. And you know very well that their incessant support for Trump and to go back to the White House and so on has one purpose alone. That's it. The guy is not going to leave. So the media's hypocrisy, and not just that, there's an onslaught that will wear out. It's like a crescendo and then descendo, right? I don't know the antonym for the opposite term for crescendo, so I would say descendo, right? So it's a crescendo and then descendo. Give it a few days, right? The euphoria will subside and the belly dancing will stop. Right? So Putina, let's let her go home, and the poor guy in Russia was not even exchanged. Look, folks, this guy Trump, he hates the United States. He and his minions, his brothers, those MAGAs, right? They hate the United States. They don't like this United States. You American, they look at you, you ride a nice car, you have a house, you enjoy freedom, and you choose your leaders, and so on and so forth, even though, things are not as good as it used to be, right? These guys don't like that. They look at you and they see animals who exited the animal farm, right? And now they're like running amok and so on, and they want to return you to animal farm. That's what Putin is. That's what Trump is. That's what all those minions of his, Graham and whatnot, right? And McConnell, whatever that is, right? That's what they're there to do, folks. For them, this United States thing is, they are going to destroy it. Something else he wants to do, right? And that's the purpose of it, is really to destroy the United States and then raise BRICS. Your Trump is a BRICS man, period. And he is going to be the instrument that raises BRICS, B-R-I-C-S, in the East, right? And then bring down the United States. They don't like you being powerful. And if you lose your power, guess what? You're going to be on the receiving end. That's what it is. Remember what happened to Germany when that Hitler, brother of Stalin, sabotaged all the efforts in the back? What happened to Germany? Oh, look at Germany. You may say, well, they're doing fine now. Really? Look again, dudes. Look again. So communism and Nazism was the vice that crushed Europe, basically. And now, like I said, if Trump goes back to the White House, Cold War is over. That's it. If you cannot see what Trump is and what he's all about, he and his MAGAs, then I suspect your faculty. I really do. If you fail to notice or observe the details and abstract yourself from the hype from the media, from the rabble rousing speeches, and heck, he is so clear about it. The other day he goes in Arizona. He talks to people, right? You know, he said he doesn't need them. He just needs their vote. He said that very clear. Had I been standing there and heard him to say that to me, I would leave right there and then, and I would vote to his opponent, Biden. No, Biden is not the best around. No, not the best president. No, he did quite a few things, believe me. The Taiwan, the standing up to Putin when he threatened to use nuclear weapons in Ukraine, tactical nuclear weapons, and so on and so forth. Oh, he did quite a few things. You don't appease, you don't expect enemies of the United States, such as Putin, Psycho Putin, and Mao Zedong, to respect the United States and not attack it by appeasing them. Right? So, if you don't see what Trump and his MAGAs are all about, you have a problem. Even if you're white, right? You know, you get carried away by all the hypes and they're whites and so on. They're anti-you. They're against you. So let me tell you something about Gorbachev. He's a rabbi, right? He's a premier of the Soviet Union. Now, you may say that communism was, for so and so, but those investors in the Soviet Union under communism, they didn't have it well. Some did, but not all. Do you remember Gorbachev sitting on a round table in some kind of a conference, European conference or world conference or something of the sort? And then he's looking at those, in Germany, I don't know where, and said there are those nice juice bottles, juice bottles, right? Whether it's orange or refined water and so on and so forth, the expensive stuff, right? And then he couldn't help himself, right? And then he reaches for one and he tries to open it and he doesn't know how to open it, right? So he puts it back. That investor. So no matter who you are, that Trump is not good for you, right? You catch my drift here? Biden said there are 1,000 billionaires in the United States, some super billionaires and so on. This is precisely the problem with the economy of the United States. That's it, right? All these billions were taken out by way of White House, Obama, by Trump, and so on, and to a much smaller degree by Biden himself, right? So if you find totalitarianism good for you, I really advise you of reconsidering. I know how it is, right? You live and walk and eat and move about and talk and interact by fear of your own safety, right? I know how's that, right? I lived in it in Syria. I went there in 2017. Oh man. I mean, there are more pictures of the tyrant that just like the big brother, right? Everywhere, wherever you move, they're everywhere, and people are having problems eating, right? And you say anything, you have a problem, and you have your future is in question, your life is in question if you say anything, right? And not just that, those people who are in fear and so on, who live still under the regime area of rule in Syria, they're the ones who kept him in power. They're his people. So Trump's hate the United States. Oh, you could rest assured, the guy and his minions, the MAGAs and senators and whoever it is. Oh no. They hate this country. They hate what it is. They look at you and see that you're enjoying luxuries and life and so on. Probably not anymore due to them, right? They took you to wars, right? Remember, mission accomplished. That's those who are celebrating Trump now. Notice they're focusing on Biden, right? But whatever Trump did in that debate, they just don't even talk about it. All the media, and not just that, they're talking about like the Obamas coming back into the White House. Obamas were always for Trump. You better believe it. Trump, on personal basis, he sees an opportunity. That's it. The guy absolutely. If you look at his nature, he's an Eastern European. His ancestry, his two wives, and his love, his relationship to Putin, and so on and so forth. Remember when in 1991 the Soviet Union broke up, right? All those millions immigrated to the US, some of them directly, some of them through Europe, some of them through Israel, and so on, right? All these are KGBs, right? How do you know the guy is not a KGB himself? At one point in his life, when he was young, he just got recruited, maybe. That's why he got married to two Eastern European women, right? So millions came to the US. Folks, last January 6th, it was for Trump and Putin, it was guaranteed, right? The January 6th coup. They will repeat it again, but this time it's going to be guns, right? You have the, if you want your life to continue, right, as the United States, then this is your time. And don't even entertain the notion about replacing Biden or substituting for him. That's it. If you do that, you're facilitating the return of Trump into the White House, or Putin, or Mao Zedong, or breaks and whatnot, right? And your future is. I really recommend you watch that movie, 1984, and it's not even close to what happened in a country like Syria, and before that Cuba, and here and there. That's it. It's as bad as it gets. Like I said, in Syria, it's 10 times as worse, as bad, right? So watch it now and time and again, and know that Putin has no good intentions for you American citizens. He has ill intentions, you whites in particular, right? Blacks too, and anything in between, right? Putin sees himself having faltered in trying to invade Europe, right? And Biden was right. He was going to invade all Europe, northwestern Europe in the least, right? And he is looking for, resources and money, and changing, turning people into life like that of communism. And, even now, if you look at any Russian citizen, they wish just to leave the country. I read like 33 million Russian were, even prior to the war in Ukraine, were hoping to, find an immigration visa and immigrate to the West, right? And look at it, the West has 14 million Ukrainian refugees now. What do you think he's going to do here, right? Why does he hate so much Ukraine, and it destroys Ukraine and Syria and the Caucasus, and now he's doing what he's doing in Africa and here and there, right? Why do you think he's doing that, and then he's just going to love the United States? Come on, man. What do you guys are? What are you smoking out there? Get up, man. Biden is your only choice now. That's it, right? Don't even entertain the notion. And those who split against him, trust me, whether in the media or in the ranks or anywhere else, those who turn against Biden now, they have always been against Biden, and they just got exposed now. That's all there is to it. I told you before, Obama was always against Biden. He was brother of Trump. You didn't believe me, did you? He just showed its true nature. He and his minions, right? Uh, uh, so those who split against Biden now, they always were against him. That's it. They were like the fifth column among the ranks, you know. These guys are the ones usually cause their wreak havoc from within, right behind the enemy lines and so on. That's all I could say. Trump, how he talked about Ukraine. Ukraine was a victim of a war criminal, of a psychotic person. Some of their cities are erased. And yet, it was Russia that has attacked them, right? And then how much of a liar Putin is. Trump takes after his godfather, right? Putin. That guy is a liar, and this guy is a liar, right? He takes after him, as if they teach them that lying is a good thing, or like reneging on agreements, or entertaining illegal procedures or actions, and so on and so on. Look, this guy Trump spent much of his time in the debate trying not to perjure himself or violate the gag order. What kind of felon, convicted felon, would go into a debate trying to go back into the White House, right? And having to be careful not to perjure himself or indict himself or say anything that puts him into trouble, right? Just think about it. It just doesn't take to realize it. Is that the president you want? White people, remember what I said. If this guy goes back into the White House, you're the first to be eliminated and liquidated. That's all I can say. Have a nice day. And Joby is doing fine, man. Joe Biden is doing fine. Yeah, he stumbled a couple of times, but this has actually ferreted out all those minions among his ranks and all those in the media who profess to be for him and so on and so forth. I even have telltale evidence that CNN gave the questionnaire or the questions to Trump beforehand. That's all I could say. Have a nice day, folks. And Joe Biden is your only choice now. Otherwise, he's the last president of the United States. And inter-communism and Soviet Union and gulags. That's it. And that's a fact. And that is a fact, folks. They declared it time and again. And get ready to protect your capital, whether you're individual or you're a law enforcement agency. You better protect your capital, because the January 6th that happened last time in Folter, that pirate ship is prepared now to come back again, but now they're armed. Bye now.